out here after 30 years, yeah, I ain't got nothing, but I'm gonna have something because I'm rich in personality, you know, and I'm rich in love. My family love me, and that's really all that counts.
Peace and blessings, man. Everybody out there on Team Banky Pound. Much love, much respect. Shout out to all my members, all my membership, my family. Much love, much respect. Appreciate all y'all rocking with me with these stories, man. We're gonna keep them coming. I mean, I just got too much of it in my head. I gotta get it out. You know, it's just too much. And y'all help me a lot, man, with y'all feedback. It helps me a whole lot. It let me know what y'all want to hear, or it gives me suggestions, or it triggers something in my mind that makes me remember something else. So what happened? This is what happened with this recently. Something triggered in my mind. As I was telling this story, I just thought about, you know, how prison was for me when I first got in before they had cameras. You know, when I first came in, they didn't have cameras. So by them not having cameras, this created the ultra violentness that was in prison already. It was just, when I went into prison, it was violent, man. It just ain't no other way around it. There's no other real word to use but violent. It was violent because that was the culture. That was what kept everybody in order. That's what kept everybody in line, the violence. So when I first went in, you know, dudes was getting killed, man. Dudes was getting killed every day, or not killed every day, but they was getting hurt every day. And dudes was getting killed on a regular, you know, every month or so often, somebody might get killed. But on everyday basis, somebody was definitely getting hurt. Somebody was definitely going to the hospital. Somebody was definitely bleeding when I first got in prison. That's just fact. And all these different prisons had different blind spots and stuff where you could say there's more of a blind spot. All of it was blind spots because, like I said, there was no camera. But you had more, like when they say blind spot, they mean out of the way of the tower, out of the way of the booth where the officer can see what's going on. So, you know, when you ain't got no cameras and the officer ain't around, then it's just free game for everybody. So the only person that was able to protect you was you. The only person that was able to protect you in prison was you. So whatever you was willing to do and whatever level you was willing to do it at, that was your protection, you know. And you had to make other people know this. You have to make other people know what you're willing to do. They're not just going by word of mouth. I was talking to my son last night, and I was just telling him, man, shout out Hollywood Trail. I was telling him, you know, one thing about prison, it won't gonna be no, you can talk your way out of it. It won't gonna be no, yeah, well, I can scare you with my mouth, or I can talk you into believing this, or talk you into believing that, or talk you into believing I was a killer. You might can get away with that for a little while, but in time, you're gonna have to show and prove. That's a fact. That's a fact. In prison, somebody's gonna be bold enough to say, well, let me see if that's real, or let me see if he's just talking. And I've known dudes to get away with running their mouth a lot and acting like a killer and looking like a killer, you know, looking like the part or whatnot. But then when it came down to showtime, they got exposed. And once they get exposed, the gig is up, man. You can be respected today and disrespected every day after that once you've been exposed. So I know some dudes that actually happened to. But when them cameras weren't in there, it just was just a whole different vibe, a whole different feeling of the atmosphere in there. You know, you could walk out of your cell and you knew it was death on the pod. You know, you knew it was danger on the pod. You knew, you could just feel it. So you had to be prepared at all times. And I've seen so many things go down without them cameras, man. And people got away with it. That's the thing. That's the key. Because they knew they could get away with it. You got guys in prison that back when I first came in, they might just what we call like mass up. You know, they may just throw Scully over their head and put holes in it so they can see and just run up and do cells and just savage them. Take their stuff, take their property, take their TV, take whatever, you know, and get away with it. You know, because couldn't nobody identify who they was. The only person who could probably identify them was the person who was getting their stuff took away from them. But if you do that, then you labeled a snitch. And if you labeled a snitch, especially when I first came in, the game has changed since I you know, did all that time and was getting ready to come out. The game has changed now. Snitches got a little bit of better life than they had when I first came in, but they still ain't got no good life, but they got a little bit of better life. And it's crazy, you know, how much that has changed. Because when I came in, if you was a snitch, that, you know, that was like the cardinal sin. And, you know, your whole sentence was going to be a living hell. So, like I say, with times, though, things change. In the cameras, like I say, they help a lot because a lot of people can't do the things that they want to do. A lot of people can't get away with it. It's a difference in being able to do something and get away with it and then doing something that you know you're not going to get away with. If you know you're not going to get away with it, most people are not willing to take that penalty. They're not willing to take the punishment that come with what they want to do. So that alone deters them from doing what they want to do. So that is a savior in itself, you know. Some dudes don't get beat up. Some dudes don't get robbed. Some dudes don't get sexually assaulted because of the cameras. So it definitely, you know, ushering in the camera definitely changed a whole culture of the Virginia penal system. You know, definitely with 100%. I can remember institutions that I was on before cameras and after cameras, and especially like when I first came in. And I was on Augusta. I can remember when I got to Augusta, Southampton received, and then Augusta. So when I got to Augusta, that was like a fairly new institution. I think it had only been open a couple of years before I got there. Big institution though, but way out in the mountains, super. I told y'all about incidents on Augusta before. Super racist, you know, super racist. But they had no cameras, you know. They had no cameras up there, so I can remember, man, dudes getting robbed, beat up, assaulted in every kind of way you could possibly think of. I can remember COs, female COs, you know, getting you know, touched on their buttocks, and they don't know who did it. They turn around and, you know, or they walk through and dudes reach out and touch them on the butt. They turn around, they have to assume who did it, guess who did it, you know, and without being able to point a finger at somebody, dude might get away with it, might cause a little ruckus, chaos, whatever, depending on how far they wanted to go with it. But dudes would get away with stuff like that because there was no cameras. You know, it was no cameras. So even to that level, it had, you know, female officers always on alert because they still had to walk the tier by themselves. When I first came in, they were still walking the tier by themselves. You know, that's how much mind control they had over prisoners as well. You know, that a female could actually walk around in prison, can come in a block and walk with 80-something dudes that's locked up from anything that you could possibly think of, and some of them even in there for rape or molesting or girls or stuff like that. And they can send a female in there and let her walk all the way around, but just by her authority uniform and the position that we in prison, dudes was automatically brainwashed already that, you know, she's in control. In actuality, they was in control because they had the power, the numbers, and everything. But you already been mentally brainwashed to believe that you're not in control and to believe that you subhuman and whatever they say goes, and you can't do nothing about it. And this is what keeps people in prison for real. This is what keeps prison structure alive. That dudes have already been brainwashed that they can't do anything about their situation. This is what keeps dudes from getting up and going to the law library and trying to change their situation because they're brainwashed into believing, well, the judge gave me this time. It's got to be fair. It's got to be right. This is what I'm going to have to do. And they just lock into doing their time. All concepts that could be changed by changing your train of thought, you know. but most people don't do that, or most people don't come to that conclusion in their mind. It's already something that's been hereditary. It's been embedded in us that we see uniform, we see authority. We supposed to believe they're in charge, they're superior to us, they're smarter than us, when most of the time that's not even the case. But that's a whole nother story. But I'm just telling you that these females used to walk that part, and they used to, sometimes, like I say, before the cameras, they, dudes will try them. They'll touch them on the butt. They will, turn around and they act like they don't know who did it. The male COs will come in there, man, and they get to talking trash and running their mouth, and they turn their head or get far enough down the tier somewhere, and man, they get peppered with batteries and bars of soap, pop, 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 hitting them all up. They'll turn around and they'll get on the radio and call, and people come running, but they don't know who did it because there is no cameras. If no one saw it did it, the inmates is not going to tell on each other, So that was a thing that used to go on, especially when I first came in. I seen too many officers get clucked in the head with batteries, bars of soap and everything, and they knew it, So when they get in that block and they come in that block and they get to talking, they don't get to talking restless till they get ready to go out that door. Because they know if they do, they turn around, they subject to get busted in the head with some batteries or some locks or some soap or something. I done seen officers get their head busted open with big old padlocks for running their mouth and get there in the tier, and somebody done clucked them in the back of the head with a padlock, and everybody claiming I don't know what happened. You know what I'm saying? So it was crazy. That camera, man, I'm telling you, without that camera, the level of danger was just elevated that much. Dudes can go up in your cell and beat you down, beat you to death, and come on about the cell and go on about their business and wait till you get found in your cell, then don't nobody know what happened. But see, you take away that element when you got the camera, because if they do it, then the camera's gonna catch it. And even if you come out and you mask up and you do all this, they got them cameras in prison, they just follow you wherever you go. Whatever they said, they're gonna be able to go back and run that tape and see everything that went on, everybody who went in and out of that cell, and trace where they went when they left that cell. So that just X'd all of that. That just X'd all of that. And it made a whole lot of dudes in prison happy, man. I ain't gonna tell you no lie. It made them happy. It made them feel much more secure. I can, especially with the property, because then you had the sneaky thieves too, which they would sneak in your cell when you ain't around, or when everybody gone. They'll go sneak in the cell, steal all your stuff, take it to their cell, then act like they don't even know what happened, when all the time they the one who done went in your cell and took everything you had. But it was no way for you to actually prove it. It was no way for you to actually know it. But once they got the cameras, they could run the camera back and they could point to the person who did it. You know what I'm saying? And dudes will go to the police if somebody went in their cell, even though that's considered snitching as well. But dudes would do it because they'll do it on the slick tip and act like, oh, well, somebody went in my cell. They'll talk loud, dry snitching. And the police will say, somebody went in your cell. Oh, no, don't worry about it, don't worry. And they'll run the camera. Boom, boom. They'll come back, go get the person who did it, because of the simple fact they feel like it's going to be some repercussion behind it, so they're locking them up. So in the slick way, the dude is dry snitching. That's exactly what he's doing. But it deterred people from doing that type of stuff. It put them kind of dudes out of business, because the simple fact is the camera going to catch you. You're not going to get away from the camera. And it definitely made all the female officers in there feel more secure. I can remember being on Greensville, fast forwarding all the way up to my Greensville days. Or no, not even before I got to Greensville. Let's go to the wall. When I went from Augusta, I went to the wall. When I went to the wall, no cameras. Now you talking about ultra dangerous? That was ultra dangerous. Ultra dangerous. I told y'all, if y'all can remember my stories, I think I seen a dude get killed like within the first week I was in the wall. I seen him get murdered, man. I mean, just stabbed repeatedly. And he laid there in that floor and he bled to death, which he probably was dead from one of them blows. You never know, because he got stabbed a lot. But he laid there and he died while wreck continued. Everybody walking around and past him and seeing him lay right there in the pool of blood. But the officers ain't come in to do anything. They didn't even know that this had occurred until the floor was cleared and people was going to their cell, and then they noticed, but they still wasn't even coming in there had they noticed prior, because of the simple fact that they were scared to come in there. They not gonna come in there. When I was in that wall, I saw more people than I saw anywhere in my entire bid, 33 years, walk around openly with knives on them. Didn't even try to hide them. Let you know they got the knife. The knife is tucked in their pants, man, just like somebody would tuck their gun in their pants, and you can actually see it. You might as well say that in the wall it was an open carry. It was an open carry law. You can open carry because the officers ain't coming there, and they didn't have any cameras. So dudes was walking around, let you know they got a knife in case you want that business, or in case you plan on disrespecting them, or in case you plan on, having any type of altercation with them. They letting you know what you're gonna have to go through. They walking around with that work right on them. That Bethlehem is in clear sight. So it just was crazy. I mean, the whole time I was in there, they never had a shakedown. I never went through a shakedown when I was in the wall. They never came in there, your cell shook down or anything. So this what made it so dangerous in there, because the weapons was everywhere. Everybody had a knife. Everybody. So it won't like you was just gonna be stabbing somebody unless you stab them, when they won't looking or something like that. There was a good chance you might be in a duel. You might be knife fighting if you straight up got a beef with somebody and they know you got a beef with them. That's how they coming. But someone will stab you when you're not looking, because it ain't no rules in war. That's how it is. So that's why you always had to keep your head on the swivel, especially if you had any type of altercation with somebody. You always had to be like that. It's just like that's just the rules of penitentiary, just like in the rules in the jungle. I told the dude it's like into the jungle is no lion is going to warn a gazelle that he's getting ready to eat him. He's just not going to do that. He's not going to warn him. He's going to spring attack on him. He's going to set up his best surveillance, and he's going to make his move when he feel it is best chances of him to succeed in the kill. And that's the same thing in prison. People are going to make their move on you when they feel like it's their best opportunity to get the job done, or to take you out, or to get rid of you. That's what they're going to do. So it's up to you to counter, react. It's up to you to counter, to be ready at all times. And that's it. If you depend on the gods to save you, then you might as well just throw your life in the air, man, and just hope it just land in the right place, because it's not gonna happen, And I try to tell these young dudes out here that they, if you go into prison and you thinking it's gonna be something like this TV stuff you see on here, or I don't know, Oz. I ain't never seen Oz, but I always heard Oz. They talk about Oz, this, that, and third, or TV show. I never really seen it, so I can't really use that analogy. But if you thinking it's going to be anything like you might have seen on TV, or anything like you might have heard from dudes that's coming out and acting bad and tough and all that, you're going to be sadly mistaken. You're going to be sadly mistaken. And even with these cameras in there, it still goes down. It just goes down in a more intricate way, in a more plotful way, because nothing stops in prison. Nothing stops, man. If you give dudes, it's some intelligent dudes in prison, very intelligent. If you give them enough time to figure out something, if you take something away from them, you give them enough time, they're going to figure out how to get it back. Guaranteed. They're going to figure out how to get it back in some capacity or another. They're going to figure out how to get it back. They're going to figure out a way to get around it. They're going to figure out a way to maneuver. That's just what's going to happen, because you got them type of minds in prison too. They just incarcerated minds, but you got some great thinkers in prison, and maybe sometimes they can't compartmentalize and think on the level before they got into prison, or maybe they came to prison and elevated their thinking. But you definitely got some great thinkers in prison. I done seen dudes create things that's amazing that would probably be multi-million-dollar things out of here, multi-million-dollar products, multi-billion-dollar ideas, but they just in prison, and the world hasn't seen them. But I have seen some amazing things. But yeah, in that wall, people was getting killed. They was getting killed on a regular, and it was just no shame in it, because it was known that this is what's going down. This is how it's going down. Like I said, I seen that guy get killed within the first week I was in there. open, broad daylight, right in the block. He wasn't even worried about it because of the simple fact that it was no cameras, and the only person that had to tell was the other convicts, which at that time was definitely a no-no. Everybody knew you weren't going to tell nothing up in there, because if you did, then you was going to get slaughtered. You was next, you know. I can remember going down there one day, and this was not even long after the murder, maybe a couple of weeks later, and I was going down there. I think I had said something about this one time in my previous videos too, maybe over on Joe's channel. But I can remember going down there one time, and I was going to get a haircut, but it was a line. So the dudes was cutting hair and everything, and they cut hair in the block. And there was one dude in there getting his hair cut, and it was a dude, he was pacing back and forth, walking through there like he was waiting for a haircut too, and there was a couple other dudes over there waiting as well. And they all was talking and kicking it or whatnot. And this dude, man, I just could remember getting the vibe of I didn't like his energy, the way he was moving. And sure enough, man, sure is grits grocers. He walked by and walked through a couple of times, and then when he came back through, man, he just pulled out the knife and started stabbing the dude that was sitting in the barber's chair, actually getting his hair cut. And then he like hit him a couple of times, and the barber just bagged up and pulled away like, whoa. And then he ran over and started stabbing the other dude that the dude was talking to. So evidently they all had some type of feud or some type of beef going on. So I bag up myself. I'm like, whoa, it's going down up in here. So I'm moving on out of the way, because like say when stuff go on like that, you don't know what's going on. Some people get to the point when they make a move like that, they try to get everybody around them because they like ultra paranoid. So they don't know what's going on, so they just get the slinging, you know, like Excalibur or something. So I bag up and I get out the way. He hit him, boom, boom, hit this dude, boom, boom. He turned to another dude, they arguing or whatever. I slide off, I peel off, and all of this chaos go on. He ended up tucking the knife and walking away. He talking trash. They laying over there. They leaking. They trying to get some help now and get up out of there. And no one is in there for the help. No one. These dudes end up at the beginning of the gate where you come in on our block at the bottom, trying to solicit help to get the guards to come get them out of there so they can get the medical to get help, because it ain't nobody in there to save you. Ain't no cameras, ain't nobody to tell it. They not going to tell what happened to them or who did what they did to them. They just not coming back in that block. After they go to medical and go wherever they got to go to hospital or whatever, they not coming back in the block. The people going to come in at count time and pack their stuff up and take their stuff out. Wherever they end up, but they would not end up back in there. So the dude who actually did that is still in there. So you have people that be around a guy that did some stuff like that. Now they scared of him because they don't know what type of move he may play. They don't know what type of altercation they might get in with him, but they do know right now that he'll put that work in. So now he's a feared dude, and he's still roaming around here on these blocks with a bloody knife. You see what I'm saying? So these are the things that you have to, you know, be looking at in your mind with the type of people you're dealing with. This is what's going to make you determine how you're going to live in prison. What are you going to do? Because, you know, this is what's going on. Like I always say, the rules of the jungle is you bite or be bitten. Because it's going to happen in prison. You're going to encounter these situations, you know. You're going to encounter these situations, man. Yeah, T.I. used to have a line in one of his songs I used to think about, you know, and he said you got to prepare for the gunplay because you're going to encounter it one day. And that's how it is in prison. You're going to have to prepare for that knife play because you're going to encounter it one day. If you in there long enough, you're going to encounter it. Even if it's somebody pulling a knife on you trying to rob you. And especially more so back then, in them days. That's just how it was going down. So, yeah, and again, no cameras. It's no cameras, no witness. And that's how it was. And they didn't put cameras in for a long time, man. And a lot of prisons ain't put them in for a long time. I'm talking about all the way up until the 2000s. You know, it was prisons that still didn't even have cameras. And the reason why they didn't have cameras, which is so crazy, is actuality, is because Virginia just didn't care. And they so stingy and so tight. They went and rather built all these other prisons up in the mountains, the Wallace Ridges and the Red Onions and all. They went and built all of these other prisons just to build the economy up in these rural places. You know, up there in Red Onion and up in top of mountains and stuff. King Mountain All these places, they built these prisons just to spark the economy in those places where they live, in those cities. You know what I'm saying? Because instead of that, they could have, they saying they doing it because all of these violent criminals in Virginia, and they need to be housed somewhere where they could be supervised, right? But in actuality, it was because they didn't want to spend that money that it took to put them cameras in all of these prisons, and that would have changed the whole culture. That would have slowed down a lot of the violence, and they knew that already. But they was thinking not about the prisoner, they was thinking about themselves. They was thinking about the monetary value, feeding themselves, creating more jobs for the people that wasn't incarcerated instead of trying to save the lives that was already incarcerated. They wasn't worried about that. They used that as an excuse, but that was the actual and factual situation right there. They didn't want to spend all the money just to protect inmates, you know, just to make them feel safer, just to make them more secure. They didn't want to spend that type of money. I'm telling you, I was all the way up in Nottoway, and where I actually eventually made parole from. And when I got there, then it was like 2014. They would just put cameras in the block 2 months before I got there. 2 months before I got 2014. So you can imagine, you know, the things that done happened in there and people that got away with. You can imagine, you know, and like I say, it was like that in a whole lot of other prisons. I was on Powhatan all the way in 2001, 2002. They put cameras in while I was there. They was installing the cameras. Just finished it before I left, like 2002. They just finished, put all the way up into the two. And so many people got slaughtered on Powhatan. I'm talking about many. That was where it went down in the shower. The shower or in the stairway on Powhatan. It's the danger zone, man. That's the danger zone. They used to actually call Powhatan the slaughterhouse. The slaughterhouse. They called it for two reasons. Because one, they had the what do you call it? The cows and the cattle and all that stuff up there. So they actually had a job up there, and they called it the slaughterhouse because the dudes actually made all of the beef and the food that was going into the system one time, I think, was coming from there, or either they were selling the beef somewhere else, because it never seemed like we was getting beef in prison at all. But they actually had I can't think of the name of what they called it up there, but on Powhatan it was called a slaughterhouse because they actually had live cattle and stuff up there. But it also was called a slaughterhouse because on the inside, dudes was getting slaughtered. It was a lot of people got killed on Powhatan. A lot of people got maimed, disfigured, and everything, all with no cameras to boot, you know. So a lot of people who did these things, a lot of people got away with these things because there was no one there to see it happen. You know, no cameras to capture, and anybody who seen it already knew silence was, you know, key to your survival in there. So it went down on Powhatan, and I can remember a little young dude that was up there. I was telling my son about this situation, which brought about these stories, because I was telling him about this situation recently too, about a little young boy up there that got the rumbling one time, and he was in the shower. They used to go in the shower to fight. You could go in the shower and fight somebody one-on-one. You can ask for it, you know, and you go in there, dudes will hold the door there and make sure nobody come in there and jump. You could go in there and fight one-on-one a lot of times. But these young cats don't understand. Somebody might tell you they want to fight you one-on-one, but they don't know the rules of prison. You in prison, but you don't know the rules. You know, you got to search him, man. You got to tell him, man, lift your shirt up, man. Hey, shake your pants out. You know, you got to make sure he ain't got nothing, because a dude will tell you want to fight you one-on-one, and you go up in there with him and you lock in, and he getting whooped. He might pull something out, but you don't know he got it because you ain't even checking before he went in there. You know, so same thing with you. You can have something he don't know. So dudes went up in there, man, these two little young boys, man, and the young guy getting the best out of him. He beating them good. Dude spit a razor blade out and start slicing him. Chop, chop, chop. He don't even know he getting hit. He bleeding like a pig. He think he's sweating and he rumbling and he trying to keep the dude off. Then he see all the blood and he looking at the blood, and dude hit him again. you know. So now he bleeding from everywhere, and he thinking, oh, he got something, but he can't see what he got, and he steady there trying to fight. You know, I come around, and me and another dude, we see them dudes in there fighting, the little young dudes. So my man tell the dudes, man, y'all get out the way, and I go up in there and I try to stop him. And I tell him, I said, young blood, come on, man, you better come on. And the dude with the razor blade, he don't really want to kill him, but he know that he ain't got no other choice to get out. He can't get out. Dude won't let him out. So he steady slinging the razor blade at him, telling him to back up. And I go in there and tell him, I said, bro, you gonna die, man. You bleeding to death, you gonna die, man. You better come on, get some medical. He steady trying to fight and don't want to listen. But he eventually listened, man. We get the dude out there. Me and another dude tell him, man, you got to go to medical. He said, man, where I'm cutting? You cut everywhere. Everywhere, man. In the neck, in the face, in the chest. You cut everywhere on the arm. And he's just bleeding, man. It's just pouring out of him. And we started walking him down the stairs. And before he get halfway down the stairs, he passed out. He passed out because he losing so much blood. And me and another dude had to carry him all the way to the side door and try to tell the people that this man needs some medical attention. You know, and then you to put yourself in harm's way because they don't know if you had something to do with it or not. Because like I said, it ain't no cameras. So you open to go up into investigation and everything. So it's just crazy situations that go down like that in the penitentiary. And especially, like I say, when there's no cameras. And Powhatan was, I mean, they was major for that. They was major for having a whole lot of situations jump off where no one never found out exactly what happened because there was no cameras in there to tell the story. And dudes is not gonna tell the story. But lives was lost on Powhatan with them no cameras, man. I mean, a lot of them. And, you know, the female COs, whoo, they made, when I was on there on Powhatan, them female COs was terrified to walk them floors by themselves with good reason. And especially to go up and down them stairways, man, they was terrified to even consider walking up and down them stairways, you know, because dudes be lurking on them. You got some real live perverts. You got some real live desperado dudes, and they'll lay up in them hallways, man. And then you got some of them who don't like the females who done said something smart to them, or don't like the male COs that done said something smart to them, and they'll throw a hoodie on or throw a scully over their head and wait for the male CO to come upstairs and knock them out, stomp them, beat them, stab them or whatever, and peel on around the corner, pull their mask off and throw it and go on about their business and act like it won't them when they don't know nothing about it. You know, and the same thing with them females. You had some of them dudes, they would try to grab them females in the hallways, and their only source of protection was the walkie-talkie. You know, the walkie-talkie or their nightstick. They used to actually carry the nightsticks back in the day, but you had to be able to pull that out before somebody pounced on you. You know, so it just was, it was not no game. You know, coming up through the ranks or coming up through prison, when I came up through all of these different stages I had to go through. I had to go through all these different stages, all these different places where all this type of stuff was going on. And it was just a culture. So to me, it became the norm. It became how I trained my mind to what I had to deal with on a daily basis. On a daily basis, you know. And I've seen a lot of stuff, man. I've seen a lot of stuff go down, man, that people would just be like, wow. And a lot of stuff that I seen, no one really paid the price for it. Because like I said, no cameras, you know, no witnesses. So, yeah, so prison, that's why it was like it was before, you know, they actually put these cameras in there. And like I say, I don't know if it's any of them that still don't got cameras. It probably is, some of them, because they that tight when it comes to our protection. But when it comes to their protection, they're going to go all out. They got rag gears, they got shields, they got dogs, they got, man, one time up in the mountains, they had cattle prongs, man. They was savaging guys up there. They had cattle prongs. I've seen dudes that got big round circles on their face and on their body from being shot with cattle prongs that they had up there in the mountains when they first opened them prisons up in the mountains. You know, the rubber bullets and stuff that they shoot people with, people that lost eyes and all types of foolishness to protect them. But when it came to protecting us, you on your own. You on your own. You are literally on your own, you know. So it's just a different ball game, man. And like I say, a lot of people probably lost their life and could have been saved had it been some cameras, you know, because it might have deterred somebody from actually doing what they was gonna do, but knowing that they was gonna get caught. But when it's just a slither or a chance or a percentage that they won't get caught, that changes the whole person's mindset of what they're gonna do and what they're not gonna do, you know. And this part about the no camera too, that dudes ain't like, that probably, you know, was mad about, because you had a lot of females that come in them prisons too, and if they like you, then they might they might slide up in your cell, man. They might slide up in your cell because it won't no cameras. It depends on who was working and what situation was and what the time frame was. They may slide up in your cell for a few minutes or something, and you know, make it do what it do and slide on back out. That's how a lot of inmate and officers or convict and officers relationships start, because they talk, and then they get those little opportunities like that they was able to take advantage of, and that's how the relationship begins, because they was able to do that. But I know dudes who actually got kids by CO officers, and I done seen CO officers over the years walking around pregnant, and people don't have a clue that they pregnant by an inmate, you know, and it just be crazy, and actually stay there and actually have the baby, things like that. But no one really knew besides the people who did know, you know. But it goes down like that because, like I say, they had those opportunities. And then on the other end, the same thing. You had officers that was nasty and dirty. They had the opportunity to go in your cell, plant some on you, come out and act like they come and check your cell down later on, and then all of a sudden they find this, that, and the third, but they don't put it in your cell, but there's no proof because there's no cameras. And then they're gonna believe or act like that you know, that is against their moral principles. No officer will actually do that. Like they all morally superior than everybody else. Yeah, it just, prison is just a wicked game, man. It's a wicked place to be. I suggest you have no part of it because it's crazy, and everything about it is just like a microcosm. It's like a different world in this out here society where people don't understand what's going on in there. They have the slightest clue that people is actually living like this on a day-to-day basis, but they have to survive. You know, they have to survive. And like I say, at any moment, you could be in your cell, laying down, resting, minding your business, and somebody could just bum rush your cell. A couple of dudes could just bum rush your cell and have on hoodies or whatever, or just come in there plain face and just come in there and, you know, go to work on you and try to take everything that you have just because they don't have it, or just because that's what they need to try to get what they need to get, drugs, whatever. So you have to always be ready. You have to always be ready, stay ready, so you don't have to get ready, because you may not have time to get ready. So that's just how you living in there. When I first came in, and we talking about for man, the better part of a couple of decades before the shift changed, you know, before things started to change, or before they actually started putting cameras and stuff in there, because dudes gonna try to survive any way they can. And especially when you're talking about the drug game in prison, dudes want to get high. If somebody got drugs, they gonna try to get money any way they can to try to get the drugs. They ain't gonna try to take it from the drug man itself or hurt him, because they want the drugs to keep on coming. So if this the only dude on the compound, or only one of the few on the compound that's actually getting drugs, they're not gonna try to hurt him, because then they skunk the whole drugs coming in. And this is, you know, this goes against what they need. This is what they want. So they will go take it from somebody else to go give it to this man so they can get what they want. You know, and that's a mean game, man. And so you could possibly be a victim of something just because you have something and somebody else need what you have. You know, so these are prison activities, man, on the daily. So I'm trying to tell you, young fellas, if you ain't built for this type of life, you better keep on doing what you're doing out here in the streets and enjoy being out here in the streets, because once you get up in there, it's a whole nother ball game, my brother. It's a whole nother ball game, and ain't nobody gonna be able to save you but you. And a lot of people ain't get that opportunity to get saved, man. Before them cameras came, it was a savage world up in there. Savage world up, and it's still a savage world, but it's just came down a couple of notches, you know. So when people look back at Virginia prisons and they wonder why the 80s and the 90s was so ultra violent, you know, and start tapering down in the 2000s, it wasn't so much as the Wallace Ridge, the Red Onion, and all of those places that they built, the Sussex 1s and 2s with the guns and all that. It was more so Big Brother. It was Big Brother that changed the culture. It was that camera. You can't dispute that camera. You can't dispute it. They're going to have you there in plain sight the same way it is out here in society today. When the camera going to catch everything that you do, it's the same way in prison. When they put them cameras in there, that was the ball game. That was the ball game. I was on Powhatan. I was in the top tier, third tier, back cell. When they put them cameras in there, I had somebody in the booth that was cool with me, showed me how powerful and how the camera operates. They told me to go up in my cell and take a playing card and put it in the back of my cell in the window and come back down to the booth. And I did. And they showed me on this camera screen that the camera can go up in my cell, turn, and go all the way up in my cell. Can see the card. The card filled up the whole computer screen. I thought that was amazing. I was like, oh man. So they can see everything in there that's going on. Everything that's going on. You know, so that just changed the culture, man. Because like I say, I know it saved lives. I know it saved a whole lot of dudes their property. And it saved a whole lot of COs too, their job, man. Because if they had them cameras in there, a lot of COs would have lost their job. And before they had them in there, they was getting away with a lot of stuff that they can lie about, that they can cover up, that they can, you know, have just put their word on it, that they didn't do nothing of the sort. And that was cool, you know. But once them cameras came, everything changed, you know. So they couldn't do none of that. So a lot of that stopped, and a lot of other things stopped because of the camera. When they ushered the camera in, man, it just changed the whole culture, especially in the Virginia penal system, man. So those are just a little things that I noticed that I just wanted to share with y'all and put it out here on this video for y'all, just to give y'all some type of informative information about how it was before the camera and after the camera. And I just think it's just it was some great dynamics. That's just at the top of my head. I may revisit this video and do a part 2 and tell you a lot of other things that may come to my mind, but I had that on my mind right fast. I just wanted to share with y'all. I say right fast, but it's probably gonna be 2 videos because y'all know I talk a lot, you know. So, but I appreciate you. I got some new things coming up real soon. I don't want to really put it out there and let y'all know, but I want y'all to stay tuned, man, because I'm going to be announcing a big announcement soon on this Banky Pound YouTube, man, about something that I'm getting ready to do. And I want y'all to be informed about everything that I do, because we are a family, and I want y'all to take this journey with me. Wherever I go, I want y'all to go. So let's get it. Team Banky Pound. I love y'all. Y'all be safe, be smart, make good decisions out there. Peace and love. See you next time.
The Banky special.
Yeah.
Pure deliciousness.
Pure deliciousness, man. My name is Banky, man. Everybody calls me Banky. That's the name that I got from my grandmother when I was young. I'm coming out here after 30 years. Yeah, I ain't got nothing, but I'm gonna have something because I'm rich in personality, you know, and I'm rich in love. My family love me, and that's really all that counts.